Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of M-Class Podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm that guy, Josh.
He's the other guy, Josh.
I'm the one who's stupid.
He's the silly guy, and I'm the not-so-silly guy.
It's a comedy duo.
And this is M-Class Podcast, the only podcast on the internet about Star Trek. Don't Google it.
That's a fact, I think.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
And on
it's
this,
the only one we do.
Well, yeah, so it's the only one who matters, really.
Yeah, I don't care about everybody else.
I've only listened to like 2 or 3 others, and they all sucked. So
I don't even know what a podcast is. I just show up for them. Whatever.
He's on 20 of them.
I'm on 27 of them.
Shit. On this podcast, we have a little bit of a discussion about an episode of Star Trek from beginning to end, and then we tell you our thoughts, and also probably make a lot of stupid jokes.
Yeah, I would also say that we talk about very topical things, like fill in the whatever people are talking about these days.
Kanye West.
We just dated this podcast to either now or 2006.
Or the next 4 years, probably. I don't
know.
Anyway, on this episode of M-Class Podcast, we're going to be talking about a TOS episode called Balance of Terror.
I'm
terrified. This is the first appearance of Romulans in Star Trek. Not in the history of Star Trek, but in Star Trek.
Right, not in the timeline of Star Trek universe, but the actual, our timeline. Yes.
It's important to note that our collection that we're working on right now is just the Romulan collection.
Ramulans.
I'll go ahead and list you off what we're going to be talking about over the next, I don't even know, like month, 2 months.
Look at this producer ass shit going on right now. What is this?
Look, I know what I'm doing up here, buddy.
Damn, this guy has like notes and he remembers stuff.
First off, of course, we're going to be talking about Balance of Terror from the original series.
That's this week.
From TNG, we're going to be talking about The Enemy, which is the one where Geordi makes a best friend who's a Romulan.
Yep.
Then we're going to talk about DS9 Shadows and Symbols.
Yeah.
AKA, you can't put guns in your hospital, stupid. And the final part is going to be Minefield from Enterprise, where the real first appearance of Romulans happens.
Well, spoiler alert for you, Jeff. You don't really see them.
No, that's the thing. They talk about that in Balance of Terror. That,
yes.
No one has ever seen a Romulan before.
Yes. The way that they go about it in the show is pretty clever, actually.
Well, we'll get there in a month.
If we make it that far.
Or 2 months. Who knows? We'll get there.
I mean, who even knows?
What? This episode is like one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever.
This is a great episode.
It's basically a game of cat and mouse between 2 really fucking clever captains.
Yeah, and the Romulans are, I would say, up to their old Romulan tricks, but this is the first time in Star Trek that they've ever done this. But it sets a really great precedent for Romulans for being, like, duplicitous and cunning and really, like, tactically sound.
And we also get a Mark Lenard performance before he starts playing Sarek.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the Romulan captain, and he's like, I don't even know, like Shakespearean almost in the way he delivers his lines and everything.
He's like 107 in this episode, and then I think when he's in TNG, he's like 407.
The actor? Because he's not playing the same character.
Yeah, the actor. Yeah, the actor. He's like one of those guys who just looks old all the time.
Yes. He looks the same age almost. Like they put like gray hair makeup on him in TNG, and that's it.
Yeah, like he's not actually that old, but he is kind of. I mean, he died. I think he died recently. Honestly, I think he died in like.
I actually don't know, but yeah, he was always old looking. I think that's the difference between previous generations of humans and now, because we eat so many preservatives, right? Yeah. So now we all look way younger than we ever have throughout history.
When did he die? Oh, he died in 96. Never mind.
Okay, so just a couple years ago.
Just a couple years ago in 1996, 22 years ago.
This episode was written by Paul Schneider, who wrote...
From fucking David Letterman?
Yes. Isn't his name Reiner?
No, that's Paul. That's Rob Reiner.
Whatever.
Rob Reiner wrote movies like When Harry Met Sally.
Okay, so Paul Schneider from The Tonight Show wrote this episode. No one's gonna get that reference. He also wrote The Squire of Gothos, and an episode of the animated series as well. So he's a big TOS writer.
I don't want to get too tangential right now, but I've been watching the animated series, and whoo boy,
I've heard it's wild as shit. Like all kinds of shit.
It is.
On that show.
It's from 1973, and they were really riding that like, let's get high and write some shows train.
The people are still riding today.
It's fucking out of control. Like, it's crazy.
I've seen some episodes, and there is a very famous episode where they summon Satan. So
I just fucking watched that one. We could do a Satan episodes list. There's a couple
actually.
There's a few.
Do we put the DS9 episode with Rumpelstiltskin in that list?
Yes. Because we need a reason to fucking watch that one.
My friend Max actually watched that episode not even like a few days ago, and he's like, so Rumpelstiltskin just showed up on DS9.
Dude, Mike and I, when we watched it, we were laughing so... And I'd seen it before that, but watching him watch it, I was like, this is incredible. Fucking Rumpelstiltskin.
Can't believe they got Rumpelstiltskins up here.
This place is crazy.
The director of this episode directed like a shit ton of other episodes of TOS. 6. And
that's a lot. That's actually a lot.
It is. There's only 3 seasons of TOS. Yeah. He also directed like a ton of other shit TV shows. Like they weren't shit. Like Zorro and like...
fuck Zorro.
Zorro's good. Fuck you.
Hey, I'm Zorro. Here's a Z on your chest. Like, whatever, man. Like, stab him with that sword.
Fucking put a Z on somebody's chest, asshole. I dare you.
I can do it. Give me a sword. I'll do it.
You couldn't.
Let me try it. I'll try it on you.
Do it, bitch. I just thought it was interesting that he wrote on every show that William Shatner was on.
That's crazy.
So maybe they were friends. I don't know, but I thought that was a fun
Shatner
fun.
Owned him kind of like a Wookiee. Like maybe he like saved the guy. Like Shatner saved him.
But that was a John Larroquette fun fact of the week.
Oh, how interesting.
How interesting. The gist of this episode is the Romulans... the beginning of the episode, you have to understand that Romulans exist on one side of a neutral zone after a nuclear space submarine conflict 100 years earlier.
Yeah, let's just pretend that got retconned, because it does.
A lot of stuff in this episode gets retconned. We'll talk about that a little bit. But
yeah.
It begins with a wedding, like the most secular wedding I've ever seen on a TV show. There's no religious symbols at all.
Dude, they are straight chilling in that whatever room, though. Like, they're just like fucking statues in there.
Yeah,
I think Scotty's
really
like leaning against the wall, and he's just like, fuck it, whatever.
And it's like, they have pretty much like half the bridge crew at their wedding. I'm like, you guys are just kissing ass. You don't know these people.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, right. Like fucking, I'd be like, I don't want to go to your wedding. Downstairs. Like, I take a turbo lift? Fuck that.
Fucking Captain Kirk says that all captains throughout all time have had like one happy duty, and that's sort of like a theme.
That's the great wooden sailing ships, yeah.
That's sort of like a theme in this episode and a lot of other TOS episodes, even in TNG a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, they bust this shit out. They bust this shit out.
Like the captain's burden, right, where they have all of these horrible duties that they have to complete.
Right, the responsibility of a captain is like insane.
Oh yeah,
but like there's also like these times when they get to like do these like like fun chores, let's call them, right? Like
yeah, where they don't have to tell somebody their loved one died. Although
Exactly.
Kurt does have to do that later.
Chekhov's gun
Yeah,
on the wall here, a little
Chekhov's
bit.
murdered husband.
It's Chekhov's dead husband.
I mean, you can tell right out the gate which one of them's gonna die because, like, the lady has, like, a bunch of lines, and the guy never says a word and just smiles.
Yeah.
and nods.
The lady says something like, "It's not going to be that easy to get away from my talons," or whatever she says. You know,
Her hook is what it is.
her hook. That's
And
what
he
it
says,
is.
"At least for now, I'm still your superior officer." Which I'm like, when you get married, do you get demoted? What the fuck is happening?
Maybe he meant like she'll get promoted beyond him, or maybe he meant like she's in charge. That's how I took it as like she's
maybe.
in charge.
I just thought
like,
that was
later.
such a weird line. I was like, okay.
Yeah, maybe it was like a little like ahead of its time for that 1960s when like, you know, women had to still like chew food for men and stuff.
Oh, you mean women don't do that anymore?
I mean, they should. I'm kidding. Jesus Christ, I'm kidding.
Fucking, I'm sure you're gonna get some angry emails from people like,
I don't think
how dare
so.
you make me chew your food?
I fucking phoned that joke in hard enough that they get that I was kidding.
Hopefully. I don't know, Josh. You're always phoning them in. Got him. But the wedding gets completely canceled for the moment because the sirens start going off.
Yeah. Everyone report to your stuff. Do your shit. Let's go.
Everybody to battle stations.
Yes, which is crazy, right?
Which is weird because they just got an announcement that, like, Outpost 4 is under attack. And they're like, yeah, it'll be like 20 minutes before we get there. Everybody go to your battle stations, just hang out for 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, you gotta get ready.
I guess. I was thinking about that. Like, there's, like, 4 or 5 people in the phaser bank rooms. Why? There's, like, a guy in the back who's just facing the wall. He's not even, like, doing anything.
This brings up a point I wanted to talk about with this episode is, you can tell that we're watching old television because, like, they had only so many places that they could go
Yes.
on the ship, so they had to make like the phaser room, you know what I mean, to like suit the story later on, even though like there's no fucking phaser room.
And the phaser room is like also like the cheapest looking room that has ever been a set on the Star Trek Enterprise.
Well, they were like, let's take some engineering panels and just like put them in a square, you know. We'll just, like, make it look like this is a different room, you know?
There's a great shot later where the two guys in that phaser room, like, freak out and are, like, staring at the wall, and it takes, like, a full, like, minute for the camera to swivel over and show the gas leaking out.
Oh, yeah.
And the gas is, like, fucking everywhere when it
It's just in the room, yeah.
And I'm like, you just noticed that?
Like... What does phaser coolant smell like? It probably smells like highly like cancerous. Like
apparently they just didn't notice. Although it kills them instantaneously.
How fucking cold would it have to be to cool down some phaser shit?
I don't know. There's a lot of like weird ass pseudoscience about phasers in this episode.
Yeah, this is also like when like, and they kind of like try to recreate this bullshit in like the 2009 universe. Where, like, the Enterprise is more, like, mechanical than it is, like, computery.
They literally just go to, like, a fucking sewage plant and pretend like it's the engineering deck.
Right. Like, yeah, like, in that movie, yeah, there's, like, a water reclamation tube that, like, spins around, like, in a maze. And it's like, well, why wouldn't they just have the thing go to the thing? Like,
also, why is it out in the open? Like, everything else is underneath panels and shit.
Yeah, put it in a wall. Like, nobody wants... That's like a waste of fucking space.
But whatever, like, I guess. It's
anyway,
like...
we already talked about why that sucks.
Their engineering deck is, like, the size of a giant warehouse for no reason, and just has a bunch of shit in it, so who knows?
Yeah, because it's like an aircraft carrier. Like, that's kind of like what they were thinking with the Enterprise. It's like an aircraft carrier, or like a submarine.
It's definitely a submarine in the original
It's more
series.
of a submarine, yeah. But it's...
And that's why there's, like, a phaser room, like the phaser bank room or whatever, because, like, weaponry on a sub is controlled elsewhere.
Right. They don't, like, push a button on the bridge and, like, you know, it does... Like, the torpedoes don't load themselves, right?
Yes.
Like, a guy has to do it, or a lady has to do it.
And I guess that's what the phaser room was supposed to be, But there's like, what always gets me is there's like 3 giant panels in that room, and Spock runs in and presses 3 buttons on one of them and then 1 button on the other, and it fires the phasers. And I just wonder, what the fuck are the other 900 buttons in the whole panel for? This is super nitpicking horse shit. I'm just joking. But
no, like, but this is like the I don't want to say like the trouble with, but this is like the price you pay for watching old television. Is like they didn't really like think about like the technical stuff in a show.
There was none of that. There was no technical fucking supervisors on deck like there were on other series later.
Right. And they're more interested in like act the shit out of the scene. And that's like Spock is just like hitting buttons because he's like super acting, you know what I mean?
There's some really fucking good acting in this episode from Mark Lenard, and even like Shatner does some pretty damn good acting in the episode.
This is a very good episode. It really it's very like far and away like one of my favorite TOS episodes that I've ever watched. It feels like a great episode of television in a season of Star Trek where like there aren't a lot of great episodes in this. I don't know. Like I think the episode after this
one isn't of any Trek series ain't great. And I think TOS on the whole has a better season 1 than any other series.
Yeah.
But its season 2 has a lot more good episodes in it comparatively.
I think the episode after this is when they go to the Pleasure Planet and Alice in Wonderland happens. So
yes, they go to Not Risa.
Not Risa, and like robots like fucking like get replicated like to make their dreams come true. So it's like not a holodeck either, right? No. But it kind of is.
It's a different episode than this one.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
this is a great episode. This is a really like the way that this episode ends. Not to talk about how it ends, but like the way it ends, you're like, oh my god, like that was just really good television. Like that was just a really good television show.
For sure. This episode also has one of my favorite Kirk lines of all time.
Yeah, I know which one it is.
Yeah, the guy's like talking shit about like Romulans and Spock and their relationship to each other, and Kirk just says, "Leave your bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on my bridge."
It's great. It's great.
I love that line.
They do a really good job of having this random lieutenant, whatever the fuck his name is, like
Lieutenant Angry Racist,
Lieutenant Bigot Jones, who like because like before this, like the Federation doesn't know who the Romulans are. Like they fought a war with them in the Scott Bakula years.
Yeah, but they had never seen a Romulan and knew nothing about them.
So the Romulans are like so secretive and so fucking like paranoid, I would say, that like they know enough because they know where they came from, right? The Romulans know that they were ancestors of Vulcans who left Vulcan 1,000 years ago. So they don't want the Federation to know that because it would give an advantage to them, probably. You know what I mean?
They would understand a little bit about their history and their tactics because they know that they have that relationship with Vulcans.
Right, and they would know how to kill them because they know how to kill a Vulcan. You know what I mean? Like they're basically the same. Like you don't change that much in 1,000 years. So
no. The whole idea is they want as little as possible to be known by their enemy.
Right.
Which is a great tactic.
Yeah, and it's really smart.
It's insane to me that like the Earth-Romulan War happened and there was a treaty made that set up a neutral zone and no one met face-to-face during any of this. Like the Romulans are so fucking underhanded that they figured out a way to like make Earth sign a treaty with them without even meeting with them.
Right. It's fun in like in Enterprise when they start getting into like the Romulan stuff. They make them use like drone ships. So like the Romulans make a ship that can cloak, but it also replicates like different phaser frequencies. So like they start pitting like all the races of what will be the Federation against each other. Like, so they'll have like the drone ship fire like Tellarite phasers at an Andorian ship and blow it up.
Yeah, well, shit, I didn't know they had like cloaking technology back then, because it's pretty fucking remedial in this timeline.
Yeah, like so it's sort of like Bobo-ass cloaking. Like, it's sort of like it can mask like certain things, but I don't remember if it like cloaks.
Because I mean, the big thing in this episode is how much power it takes to run the cloak, to the point where like that's why the Romulans end up losing, is because they run completely out of power running the cloak to death.
Yeah, that I think they kind of retcon that, because I think in Enterprise then, like, all the races kind of like form like a net, kind of like how they do in TNG with the tachyon net, you know?
Yeah.
And they kind of like use like that to find the ship, but like they beam onto the ship and like there's nobody on it, and they're like, "What the hell?" They're like, "What is this?" Yeah, and like they can't even breathe in there because they're like, "Well, there's no air in here." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's no need for it.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool how they like take that one thing that happened in this episode and apply it to like what would have been hopefully like the Romulan War, but the show got canceled.
That
so
sucks. We'll get to that episode though.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That does suck that the show got canceled just then. From everything I've heard, that's when it starts to get really good, is the last season.
The last season is very good. Because like lots of shit's happening on Earth where like there's all these like xenophobic like basically like Trump supporters. I mean, basically, and then they're like, get these aliens out of here, and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on, you know? And like the Earth starts to like have to make a decision where it's like, well, what kind of Earth do we want to be? You know, do we want to be like
Earth is only for humans, or what?
Yeah. So it gets really good.
Anyway. The whole deal with the neutral zone is that if either party crosses the neutral zone or enters into it, then war gets declared again. Earth-Romulan war
were declared.
Exactly.
What does that red button mean? War were declared.
And, like, the situation is so dire. Like, they don't even know what's up yet. They just know that Outpost 4 is under attack. The weird, like, xenophobic guy who cares, like, a lot about his ancestor from 100 years ago getting killed.
Yeah.
He's real obsessed with that for some reason, but he's like, yeah, it's the Romulans. And they're like, what? You jump into conclusions, boy. But he's right.
Yeah, it's making the crazy guy right's never a good idea.
Kirk has a great line before that, too, where he says, their war, Mr. Styles, not yours.
Yes. Dude, that line is incredible, because that to me is like, that's what a Starfleet captain would act like, right? Like that's
nothing will completely like ruin your pop culture opinion of Kirk and make you see him in a much better light than actually watching TOS.
Yeah, but nobody wants to do that because they're like, I much prefer the crazy idea that I have in my brain about William Shatner.
No. That's old and stupid.
He fucked a green girl.
He had sex with green ladies, even though there was only a green lady in the episode he wasn't even in.
Dude, yes. It's true.
But, like, they head towards Outpost 4, and they do some surveying. Outpost 2 and 3 are destroyed. And this Lieutenant Styles is still like, yo, it's a Romulan ship. I'm telling you, it's them.
Yeah.
And again, he's right.
Yep, not great.
They start trying to track the ship, and that's when we learn about the cloaking device. And they're pretty amazed, but not as amazed as I would be in their place. Like, they're like, oh, they must have perfected the technology necessary. It takes a lot of energy, but they must have figured out a way around it. And I'm like, fucking, it's invisible, dude!
Did the Klingons have it at this point?
No.
They don't have it. They get it. They get it from the Romulans.
Klingons at this point.
No, not yet, right? Yeah. Not yet, yeah. But I mean, in like even the retconned history, do they have it?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I think they might. I think that they might.
I'm always like a little against the idea of anyone but Romulans having cloaking technology. For one, it doesn't make any sense for Klingons with their like warrior culture and like meeting everything head on.
It makes sense that they would steal it, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it was actually stolen from the Romulans, like, yeah, we
well,
stole
I mean,
them.
I would say, we need to watch Discovery because they kind of get into this.
Oh, yeah?
But they kind of do it in a stupid way, so I would say forget it.
Isn't that the truth about everything related to Discovery? They kind of get into that, but in a stupid way.
Also, they have a third dick, but the one is cloaked.
It's cloaked.
Nobody can see it. Yeah, so everyone just thinks they have 2 dicks, but they really have 3.
They can choose how many dicks they piss out of at a time.
That would be crazy.
I've been making so many double Klingon dick jokes since we learned about that.
It's so stupid.
It is the dumbest shit.
It's so fucking, like, pandery stupid.
Did you see the spoilers for how the season of Discovery ends? Like, what shows up
I know.
and everything?
Yeah, I know what happens, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was trying to talk to Paul and Nick about it, and without giving it away, and I was like, here, all I will say is they're really kitchen sinking this.
Yeah.
They're all in, man. They are all in on this.
Yeah,
so.
and you heard who's gonna like be a guest now and everything. So
who? I mean, I know who's gonna be in it.
Yeah,
like the one character.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
We did fucking horribly dancing around this. We're like crushing it. We're dancing.
It could be like
horribly.
it could be like 3 people, and it's the one that nobody really cares about. So.
That's fucked up, but
it's the stupid one who no one gives a shit about.
Nah, it's one of the most popular characters ever, but whatever.
Wait, no. Are we talking about the same one?
I don't think so. I don't think we're talking
I don't think
about
we
the
are.
same one.
Well, maybe I don't know then. Holy shit. Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Because I know...
I'll just fucking, we'll take a second out of our podcast for me to just type it to you in the chat.
type it to me. Type it to me.
There.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't hear that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard it. I heard it was this person. Now I'm going to type.
No, he's not showing up at all.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
No.
Oh, I read it wrong then. Okay.
No.
My bad.
I'm sure people
Yeah,
could fucking parse the answer out of this, but who cares?
Yeah.
Let's just say my beef with Discovery is that it sucks. Anyway, they talk to the commander of Outpost 4 who like gives them the necessary information that without which they would be obliterated instantly.
Yeah.
When they meet the Romulans, you know, the Romulans have some sort of unbelievably powerful weapon that they'd never have again after this. They do mention that this is the flagship of the Romulan Empire. So it might have been like an experimental weapon or something.
But don't the Romulans get the Doomsday machine at one point?
Maybe.
That little conical looking weird thing?
Maybe.
Maybe it's part of that. Maybe like they gleaned some information from that thing and maybe they like put it on a ship or something. I don't know. I'm sci-fi writing my way out of this paper bag right now.
Write yourself out of that fucking corner.
Dude, that's all sci-fi is. Write your way out of this. Figure out how to get out of this.
Like, Lieutenant Styles, Lieutenant Bigotry, he wants to fucking attack instantaneously, even though one wrong move puts the entire Federation into a war against the Romulans.
Right. Which, like, would be horrible.
Yes. Bones later points out that millions and millions of people would die.
Yeah, probably close to, like, several billion people would die.
Yeah. Because the Romulans are not known for their, like, good treatment of their enemies.
Well, that's the thing about the Romulans, too. Like, in the extended universe stuff, at the end of the Federation, well, not the Earth Romulan War, they were just, like, warping ships into planets, which was, like, destroying entire planets. Because, like...
That's pretty Romulan.
Because it's also very, like, post-World War II kamikaze pilot fear, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, for sure.
There were men who served in the Navy who, like, saw that happen and were, like, really fucked up by it.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do against that either, is the thing.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Like, you ever see, like, those, like, old, like, gun camera films where, like, gunners are just, like, shooting like crazy. Like, the sky is full of bullets and this plane is just, like, coming toward the ship.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking crazy is that? Like...
The fucking World Wars, like, people look back on World Wars and they're like, look at the valiant heroism, and I'm like, look at the fucking horror.
Yeah, you don't be in those.
Yeah,
don't be
in World Wars. Just don't do it.
Good. Yeah. Hopefully we won't be soon.
Yeah, we're both too old, so.
Yeah, so we'll just die like everybody else.
We'll just die here, like everybody else does. Whoop-de-doo.
Let's take a break.
We'll take a break, and when we get back, I swear we will talk about the episode.
We'll be back.
We'll be back after these messages.
Enterprise log, Captain James Kirk commanding. We are leaving that vast cloud of stars and planets which we call our galaxy. The question, what is out there in the black void beyond? This is Captain Kirk of the USS Enterprise. Is there anyone on board? Is there anyone on board? Have you raised anyone, Lieutenant?
Nothing, sir.
It is an unmanned probe which seems to be carrying a warhead.
William Shatner stars as Captain Kirk, and Leonard Nimoy as Science Officer Spock on Star Trek in color.
And we're back. Buy that product or service.
Do it. We get money for it.
We don't. We really, not yet. Hopefully one day.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Contact us, Monster Energy.
Don't you love looking at TV Guide? Are they still a thing?
Oh, God. Maybe?
Well, now I gotta put a TV Guide commercial for the...
Good luck with that shit.
There are some. I know there are.
We'll skip ahead. Uhura picks up a communication signal that it's really easy to misunderstand as a signal coming from the Enterprise.
Yeah?
But it's not. It's a signal coming from the Romulan ship.
Okay. I don't remember being confused by this.
They say it's coming from this ship, and they're like,
oh,
yeah.
That's weird.
And I was like, what?
Maybe they were going for some, like, sci-fi weird shit there, and, like...
I don't know.
They didn't explain it real good.
But this is when we get the shocking reveal that Romulans look exactly like Vulcans.
Which is really cool. Like, not only because, like, there are, like, mythological implications to this, right? Like, this is, like, Satan being cast out of paradise, and it's... What exactly this is, like the Sith. That's what this is. The Romulans are the Sith.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like George Lucas ever stole anything from anything.
No. Also, they're like dark elves, right? Like,
yeah, they are dark elves.
Like, they get cast out, and they're the bad elves, and the Vulcans are the good elves.
And there's also, like, the evil twin idea and everything that's always been in fiction.
Right, like the doppelganger, but like the evil doppelganger.
You know what I was thinking about? Well, actually, real quick, doppelgangers are actually fucking terrifying. If you've ever read, like, the original legends and stuff of them.
No, I don't know a lot about doppelgangers. Yeah,
there's
Do they, like, take over your life?
In the legend, there's no such thing as an evil, like, a good doppelganger. Like, a doppelganger is a, like, horrific monster being that you see out of the corner of your eyes.
Oh, that's terrifying. That's very German.
You'll just see it in the distance every now and then, and it looks exactly like you. And
that's really scary.
Eventually, it will track you down, obliterate you, like murder the fuck out of you, and obliterate you from existence, and just take over your entire life.
Yeah, maybe he's better at being me, though, you know?
Maybe. He does kill
Maybe
all
I've
your
already been
friends and family.
doppelgangered. Oh, well, you're still alive, so I guess I haven't.
But all I can think about when watching that scene with the reveal of the Romulans looking like Vulcans is, could you imagine being, like, a fan of Star Trek? Like, you're really getting into this new show, Star Trek. You're on episode 8, and they're like, the greatest enemy that mankind ever had. This, like, horrible war that 100 years ago that changed the face of everything. And holy shit, it looks like Spock!
Yeah, it's the Spock.
Dude,
I
I
think
would have shit my pants.
I think a testament to this episode's greatness is that how much it means now still. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like even to this day, like that's incredible. Like that's just really good. Like that's just unbelievably good universe writing right there. For a universe that's stuck around for better or worse for what, 50 years, you know?
Well, that's the thing I was going to talk about is something that they probably didn't even think about at the time but is really good for like the history of Star Trek afterwards is that they revealed that the Romulans look like Vulcans and never explained it.
Right.
They were just like, oh shit, they look like Vulcans. All right. I guess they have a common ancestor, but that's all we're going to say.
Yeah, it's great because they didn't overdo it. They weren't like, well, here's the reason why they look like this.
It becomes this mystery for fans, for like not even fans, for like people watching. You start to wonder instantly, like, why do they look like Vulcans, and like, what are they? Where do they come from?
Yeah, what's going on?
Like, what is their goal here? Because they're just wiping out things on the edge of the neutral zone. It seems like they talk about the Praetor. The Romulan commander talks about the Praetor, like back on Romulus, that wants a war with the Federation.
Oh yeah, well that's like the precedent now. Is like now that like the Romulan political structure is like bananas. So like every now and then you're gonna get these Praetors who are like, you know what? I think we could kick the Federation's ass.
Oh yeah, the Romulans are so fucking interesting to me as a villain. Yeah, it's that type of villain. Like in a comic book or like a TV show where all the heroes, villains team up together. Yeah. And then they spend the whole time stabbing each other in the back and undermining their plans.
Yeah, they like fuck it all up.
Which is always super entertaining to me.
The Romulans are great. They're like you could write like papers on the Romulans. Like because like they're so unbelievably arrogant. Oh yeah. That their arrogance ultimately comes back and butt fucks them super hard to where like their planet blows up and then now they're like the trash of the galaxy. Like, so what do, right? Like,
yeah, the Romulan Empire is no more.
It goes away and like the Tal Shiar like takes over and tries to like reform the Empire, but like at this point the Romulans were already like on the verge of like peace with the Federation, and they're like, nah, we ain't going back to being that way. Like, I don't want to do that again because it just led to like crazy shit, you know. And you find out like in again like in STO canon and like expanded universe shit that like the Tal Shiar was like fucking with this shit, like this like ancient Iconian shit that like made the star go supernova, and that's why it like blew up Romulus and shit.
The fucking like Iconians tend to be like the big sticking point, whether somebody really likes the storyline of STO or whether they really hate it, is how they feel about the Iconians.
They don't like the Iconians, I guess. I don't know. I think it's like super fun because it's like, whatever.
You have to have a new threat, right? Like
it's a video game.
Every series has its new threat, even beyond just being a video game. Like.
Right.
In TOS, the new threat was the Klingons. Yeah. And in TNG, the new threat was the Borg.
Right.
And they were the big one. The Dominion in DS9.
Yep.
You have to have your big new threat. And in STO time, it can't be the Borg again. We already did that again with Voyager.
Right. Yeah, the Borg are like super annoying in that game. But the Federation kind of has like a lid on them for whatever reason. Mostly because, like, it's kind of explained away because, like, the Borg can't understand what they can't assimilate, and the Federation have, like, taken, like, great, like, strides into, like, not being assimilated anymore. And, like, Janeway does, like, a good job in Voyager of, like, really fucking up the Borg. Like, she really fucks them up. Which, like, scatters them a little bit to the winds a little bit. But, yeah, like, there's a great line in Deep Space Nine where Sisko's dad is, like... You would think, like, he's like, all you ever say is, like, how vast and infinite the universe is. He's like, you would think that all these people could, like, learn to just, like, stay out of each other's way. Yeah. And he's like,
the universe is so big, why are we always in each other's way?
And he's always like, well, Dad, I wish it was that simple. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of, like, an interesting, like, comment on like the show itself too. Like, why does there always have to be like this big bad guy? But it galvanizes. I think it proves a bigger point, right? Like,
Well, there's
and especially
there's
in
that
this
idea
episode.
in everything, really, that like the only reason that we're enemies is because we don't have a bigger threat to unite us.
Right.
There's so little separating who we are in all these different societies that all we really need is something, like you said, to galvanize us.
Right. It's like the Reagan and Gorbachev thing, where he's like, look, if there were aliens, like, we wouldn't give a shit about each other anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, pretty much.
This episode, like, whether it means to or not, gives us that same sort of a lesson.
Yeah.
That there's really not that much difference between us. Like, the Romulan commander and Kirk are very similar characters.
Yes.
They both have this sort of, like, melancholy because of their situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kirk talks about how he wishes he was on leave somewhere on on like a sailing ship, playing
on a robot planet.
Or whatever. Yeah.
On Robot Ryza, where Alice in Wonderland is going to happen.
He asked for it. But then the Romulan commander talks about, like, how this war is going to happen and how, like, so many Romulans are going to lose their lives, and to the point where he wishes almost that he would be destroyed before he could get back home and tell them about what happened.
That's a super interesting Romulan thing that they do, and this episode really, I think, started it and nailed it right away. Like, that the Romulans are so conflicted personally with, like, the things that they have to do, right? Like, you get this in, like, TNG with, like, what's his name, Jarek or whatever. I think we're gonna talk about it later. Or no, we're not gonna talk about that one.
No, we're not talking about that one.
The one where the admiral is, like, trying to defect, and, like, he like can't, like, wrap his conscience around the things that his government wants him to do, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it brings to, like, that whole idea that, like, one person's hero is another person's traitor.
Yes, yes.
Like, the people on the Romulan commander's ship, like, almost full mutiny on him several times during the episode.
Get real mad.
Because they're blindly following orders, and he's questioning them.
Yeah.
He's also a hell of a lot smarter than they are, since they fall for Kirk's tricks instantly, and he's like, no, stupid.
Well, they underestimate humans, right? Because they're so arrogant that they're like, well, we're the ones who are going to win. Like, that's, like, total nationalism. Like, that's the Romulans are super nationalistic. Like,
there's also, like, a really great moment where the Romulan commander demotes a guy 2 steps in rank, which is fucking crazy, for one.
2 steps?
2 steps. And he demotes him 2 steps in rank, and his, like, advisor's like, yo, you should be careful. This dude has friends in high places. Which, it buries that little seed about how Romulan society works.
Yeah, everything is subterfuge. Everything is, like, I mean, it's very Roman, right? Obviously, Romulus, Remus. Like, it's very Roman.
Yeah.
But, like, it's that political intrigue that runs the society. Like, everyone's a politician. Like, you could be, like, a store owner, but you're a fucking politician, you know? Because you gotta be sneaky and shitty like that.
This episode, like, plants seeds, one after another, about what Romulans are like. Cause, you know, they had to pick the threads up and, like, take them places as writers continuing a series.
Right.
And the one thing that, like, cements that for me is they talk about how the whole attack that the Praetor is sending them on is completely politically motivated.
Yeah.
It's just to increase his power on the planet.
Right, like, he woke up one day and he was like, I'm just gonna fucking toy with these pawns. And I'm gonna move some pawns on the board. And if they die, like, whatever, but, like, I'll be better off, you know? Yeah. Like,
he sends them on this horribly dangerous mission for no other reason than it will make him seem powerful as a leader.
Right.
Like, I made this decision, now we're going to war with the Federation and we're gonna take it over.
Right. And it's like, it would be a disaster, because, like, the Earth-Romulan war is, like, it's, like, crazy. Like, it's a horror that, like, nobody has ever foreseen, which is why the Federation is birthed from that. Like, because every one of the races who was involved was like, yo, we can't ever let this shit happen again. Like, that's why the Andorians and Vulcans and everyone's like, okay, sure, like, let's, Federation it up, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Like,
they need that mutual.
People lost their lives that, like, the only way to ensure that doesn't happen again is to partner up.
Yeah, and the Romulans are so like terrifying. Like they'll do anything, right? Like there's no reasoning with them. Like in Enterprise, like you get some villains in season 3 who like seem like they're kind of like that, but then like they get convinced otherwise, and then there's like reasonable people in their ranks. But the Romulans are just like drones. Like
yeah, it's all
they'll
about
just do whatever.
duty for a Romulan officer. Like
which is kind of what the Klingons are too.
The Klingons aren't duty as much as they are like glory, right?
Right,
And
they're more like berserkers. Like they're more like crazed out on the idea of killing.
They're like, the thing about Romulans is it's all about order. Order is all that matters, and like order can be like through subterfuge.
Yes,
like you become. It's like not only order and like keeping things like under control, but it's also order as in like the order of people, the caste of people.
The caste of people, yeah, the caste system.
Like you can move up that caste through like duplicity and subterfuge.
Yeah, it's the Sith. It's the Sith.
And Klingons are all about power and like warrior rights.
Right.
Like the only way to get higher in the echelons as a Klingon is to have greater and greater glory in battle.
Right, you get more like war points.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're more like they're the orcs, right? They're more like brutish. Like
there is a lot of like overlap in Romulans and Klingons that I'm sure was completely not meant to happen.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But like there's definitely a caste system in the Klingons that's like by birth as well.
Yeah, the caste system in Klingon society is like worse in a way.
Yeah.
Because like, and they talk about that in a lot of episodes.
They do that in DS9 a lot because of Martok.
Yeah, yeah, Martok
who's
also
lowborn, but he's general.
Right. And like they talk about how like even like the lawyers on Kronos like used to like find honor, like people would be like, that's an honorable profession to like be a lawyer, you know. And like now he's like, now the one guy from Enterprise who's JG Hertzler, it's Martog, but he's playing a different Klingon, says like, well, now all the kids care about is warrior, being a soldier and being a warrior, because that's like the easiest way, right, to like get glory.
And it's obviously like the whole society is slanted in that direction as well.
Yeah, it almost destroys them.
It's like the idea, like you and I know this very well, that if you go into like a creative profession, everybody instantly looks down on you and thinks,
artists are shitty. Yeah, what do you do? Oh, you know, just do stuff like, so like when you go home, right? Like Zane and I talk about this a lot. Like when you go home, like you put a television on, like people like us like have to make that.
Yeah.
Like
it's like
it doesn't just happen for you, you know?
Like when I talk to a normal person and they're like, well, you know, I work at like the Toyota plant. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm an artist. And they're like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I didn't ask you what you do at the fucking Toyota plant, dude.
Yeah, what does work at a Toyota plant mean? Like,
it's the same shit, right? Like we have
probably a lot of
jobs.
Things.
Like,
yeah,
I don't think one of them is more important than the other.
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, we're way off topic.
Are we? I think we're about to make the point that we are the ones who live in Romulan society, Jeff.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Oh my god, it was Romulans the whole time.
We really do.
My fan is squeaking. Shut up, fan.
Both of us are named Decius.
I don't know about you, but I was raised by wolves.
Kirk holds a conference with
the conference.
Scotty and Spock and Sulu, and he invites like Lieutenant Styles for some reason.
Hey, sit on this conference, Lieutenant Styles.
You're my most trusted officer, Lieutenant Styles.
You haven't been up my ass for the past 20 minutes trying to tell me I'm the shitty captain.
They have a weird line as well where Scotty's like, yeah, they only have impulse power. And I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's all kinds of like fucking weird shit, and yeah,
like that gets retconned like instantly.
Just ignore that.
Yeah, but they're talking about their capabilities, and like the Enterprise is completely outgunned. It has like it's outmaneuvered, but they're faster,
right?
And so they don't have much of a chance to win the fight against them. But Styles points out that like if they don't fight them, then they'll go back to Romulus and the war will begin. And he does it in a very angry, like fucking vitriol fueled, like rambling dickhead moment.
Yeah, he gets real upset.
And Kirk just tells him to sit down.
Yeah, Kirk handles it like pretty well. I probably would have thrown this guy in the brig or confined him to quarters by now. I'd have been like, look, man, like you can't be yelling at me.
Yeah,
like, I'm the fucking captain.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, go to your quarters, dude.
But there's a great moment where Spock just says, I concur.
Yeah, he agrees with them. He thinks, so Styles believes like the war's already started, right? Like he's just like, we're here, we're already at.
Yeah, they've already crossed the neutral zone,
right.
So the war has been declared.
Which is interesting because it's like that's just an imaginary 3-dimensional line in the sand, right? Like, like the war hasn't started yet.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Romulans are lucky in a real way, like a very real way, that they're dealing with the Federation and not like the Klingons.
Oh yeah, no, the Klingons would be like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, like or literally any space power.
Anybody, yeah.
They crossed the neutral zone, which is a declaration of war. The only reason they don't go to war instantaneously is because they're dealing with the Federation, who are very anti-war.
Yeah, later in like TNG, like this becomes like a sticking point where like Klingon or Romulans and Federation ships are kind of like dipping in and out of the neutral zone, like willy-nilly almost. Like if they believe that they need to do it, like they'll do it. You know what I mean? So. It's an interesting...
It's not really how a neutral zone works. Like,
no, but I mean, like, even
military ships aren't allowed to cross into the neutral zone.
But even in, like, North and South Korea, like, they're always shooting guns at each other over that thing.
The war doesn't start.
Yeah, the war doesn't start,
Technically, both sides don't really want the war.
Yeah,
they
just
want
don't
the
want
other side to surrender.
Yeah.
That's not what the Romulans want. They want to go to war. But they want to be able to do it, like, on their own terms, right?
Yes.
Like, sneakily.
They want to make it seem like the Federation... it's all about controlling the message, right?
Yeah,
like,
the Federation are the ones who crossed the neutral zone. They
started it, yes.
And honestly, the Federation is lucky that ship wasn't in direct contact with Romulus.
Yeah.
Because they destroy it in the neutral zone.
Well, that's the Romulan way too, is that they just disavow, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is like what happens like in real life when that I mean, the Russians are doing it right now. Mm-hmm. Like they're sending like mercenaries, quote unquote, to like Syria, and like the United States just like fucked a bunch of those guys up. But like we're not at war with. I mean, well, we probably should be at war with Russia.
I mean, sooner or later we will be. So.
Right. Like so, but yeah, like that. So the Romulans do the same thing where they're like, well, he was acting on his own, the captain of that ship.
Well, they do that constantly in TNG. So.
Yeah, plausible deniability, right?
Yep.
Like they're all about that shit.
There's like so much good cat and mouse action where Kirk or the Romulan commander thinks they have this idea that's going to one-up the other one, but they had already anticipated it. There's a moment when the Romulan commander says he's a wily one. He seems to know my thoughts before I do.
Yeah, which is great because it's like they're both so similar, right? Like they're both like great commanders or great captains, you know?
And they're both very tactically minded as well. Like... Kirk is... I don't know if they call it the Kirk maneuver or not later, but I feel like they should, because they use it all the time. Following a ship exactly in order to seem like a sensor mirage.
Yeah.
Because they do it all the time.
Super hard to do.
Yeah, that would be like ridiculously difficult to do.
Like in space, you could go anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the mirror gag. The Groucho Marx mirror gag.
Yeah, you gotta be
the exact
perfect.
movements.
Yeah.
All they would need to do is like, all right, hard left real fast. All right, hard right.
do like a random maneuver, yeah.
And they'd be like, shit, it's not following us.
Oh, shit. Cheese it!
Lieutenant Styles as a character is like a plot character that Star Trek uses a lot. Like, I'm here to be the racist.
Yeah, he's like the shitty guy.
Yeah. And he's like, maybe Mr. Spock's an expert.
Oh, right.
There's like a level of like accepted xenophobia in this episode where like they see that the Romulans look like Spock and then everybody looks at Spock like,
Yeah, like nobody's like coming at this from like a scientific like what the hell is going on here point of view. Like you would think like some of these people would be like, well, what the hell is this? Like why is this like this?
I mean,
like,
it's the 1960s, right? They were just like, oh no,
right.
Romulans and Vulcans are related somehow. Maybe the Vulcan's a traitor.
Right, maybe, right. You automatically think.
Nobody really believed that except Styles. He was supposed to be the audience insert at the time, which is funny now.
Right. Oh, it's funny now.
He seems like such a giant fucking prick asshole now. But at the time, it was like, yeah, of course Spock's with him. He looks like him.
Well, dude... They do that shit now with like Discovery and shit. I think one of the first lines in Discovery and like one of the episodes is like she's on like a prison transport ship, spoiler alert, and like these other prisoners are talking about Andorians and how like they're cold in all the wrong places.
Oh,
and it's
like being like
it's like
super space racist.
Yeah, like it's like you've been in the same government with these people for like 100 years now. Like, what's your fucking problem? Like,
don't be a fucking spacist, dude.
Yeah, like talk about that shit. Like, get that shit out of here, dude.
They like go back and forth though, right? Where they're like, I've got this idea, I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna get him. Oh shit, it didn't get him. Well, I'm gonna do this, and Kirk's like, haha, I got him. Oh wait, I didn't.
Yep.
And there's several like really clever ideas. Like the Romulan commander shoots out all the debris that's on the ship to make it look like the ship was obliterated.
Like it was blown up, yeah, which is smart. It's very like Star Wars.
But like Spock is too smart for that. He's like, there's not enough material for a ship.
Right.
And he does him one better, which is like a genius fucking plan, where they just like shoot out a nuclear device in the middle of the debris and just leave it there. Which is nuts.
There's like, put this atomic bomb inside this fucking hydrogen bomb.
There is a strange moment that happens before that though, where like both ships are running completely silent with all power down in order to make the other one think that they're not there anymore.
I love this part because this is when like the lighting gets really great. The lighting in this episode is incredible.
It
like,
really is.
I was like, yo, this is amazing looking. Like
the lighting department really went fucking all out on this one.
Yeah, like a strip of light will be over Kirk's eyes,
Which is my favorite thing that happens in any of these episodes, where he has this intense look, and there's a strip of light across his
he's
eyes.
the only one who can see what's really going on, right?
Yeah.
Like he's the only one who can literally see the light. Like he's looking through the problem. Like
and it's like a highlighting of his emoting as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Look, audience, he sees through it.
Right, this guy's a good actor, too. He's acting like crazy. This guy's acting the shit out of this scene.
I think Shatner used to be a good actor.
No, he definitely was.
During this time, he was a good actor. Now,
you watch like the Twilight Zones, and he's amazing. You're like, this is great.
Now I think he's shit, but...
Well, he's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah,
so.
he's just like a ham now.
Yeah, he's a ham bone.
But back then, I think he was a really good actor. There's a great scene where he and McCoy have a heart-to-heart, which are always some of the best scenes in TOS. Yeah. And that's when Kirk talks about, he wishes he was just on a cruise.
Yeah.
Which is great insight into his character.
He just wants to fuck green ladies.
He talks about, like, there not being, like, crazy shuffleboard happening or something. Like, he wants it to be so laid back that there's not even crazy dancing happening or anything.
That's some dated ass shit. Yes. Shuffleboard is, like, super 1960s, 1950s, 1960s.
But that's, like, a trait of Kirk's personality that gets, like, pointed out in the movies. But it's sort of inherent to his character all the way through, that... when he's on board the Enterprise, he wishes he was back home. having like.
And when he's back home, he wishes he was on the Enterprise.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is like the most human ass shit that there's ever been.
Yeah.
Like that's everybody.
Everybody
right?
feels that, right? Like everybody.
Yeah.
When you're in think about it this way. Everybody's been to high school, right? When you're in high school, all you want is to graduate, and as soon as you graduate and you have
all
to
you
want to
do is go
world,
back. Yeah.
Like, you just want to be in high school.
Yep.
For me, it was college, but now I'm happy to not be in it as well. So
yeah, college is not as fun. Honestly, it's
for
not
me,
as fun.
college was way more fun than high school. Like a million times more fun. Like, high school for me wasn't bad. Like, I stopped getting shit from people for being a dork or whatever in, like, 7th grade or something. So when I got to high school, it was smooth sailing.
But college, you can do whatever you want, right?
College was super fucking fun. But
super fucking fun.
my wife listens to this, so no.
I was talking about myself, who is not married to your wife.
Married
Not
to me.
yet, anyway.
Oh my god, Josh. Get off my podcast. You're fired.
No! Let's take a break. Josh might not be back.
We'll be back with a new co-host after these messages.
Star Trek, the game. A game so challenging, you need this combat control panel to play it. Take command of the Starship Enterprise as you battle your way through unknown sectors. Blast Klingons. Raise your shields. Watch for space mines. Is this the most challenging game in the galaxy?
It's inhuman.
Star Trek from Sega.
And we're back. Welcome to my new co-host, Sven.
Yeah, it's me, Sven.
Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Josh.
Hey, I didn't get fired, guys.
Not yet.
Touche, Jeffrey.
When we left our heroes, McCoy and Kirk were having a heart-to-heart. McCoy says some really corny shit, but it's really heartfelt.
And they were kissing each other.
Yeah. In my fan fiction, they definitely kissed.
In the part that I imagined in my boner.
Your boner imagined it.
Yeah, my boner like bonered, you know, and like a thought, like a dream cloud popped up, and it was just them kissing each other. There's your cover sheet for this week. There's your image.
Maybe.
No, don't do that.
No, I can't put a boner on the fucking.
You can just put like
YouTube.
a big like sensor bar. That'd be really easy.
A big sensor bar with a thought bubble all over it.
Coming out of it, yeah.
Anyway, the thing is that I was gonna point out before is that Spock is like a buffoon in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, he's just fixing a panel or whatever, and he reaches up and grabs the fucking control panel on the ship to pull himself up, and he just hits the, like, turn sensors on button.
Right. And it, like, yeah.
And that's when they put the nuclear warhead out, and it fucking kills 22 people aboard the Enterprise, and no one ever says a word to Spock about it. Like, I'm a pretty understanding guy, right? But even I would have been like, Spock, 22 people died!
Spock, pay attention.
Just press your hand on the floor and push yourself up, dude.
Use your legs.
These are very sensitive panels. They blow up in our face every episode.
They have like mercury inside of them or something. I don't know. They're blowing up all the time.
We put nitroglycerin behind them for some reason.
There's fucking like magnesium in these things. They're just constantly exploding.
But the only named character that dies is the groom from the wedding.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, that's later. Sorry, spoilers.
No, that's not yet. No, yeah, it's not yet. That's when the. Yeah, well, they go through like a bunch of like these like cat and mouse tactics, right?
Yeah.
Where like they're like fucking with each other, and like at one point like the Romulan ship goes back in the neutral zone, and like Kirk is like, we're going in. Like this is when Kirk decides, right? Like now he's gonna. They
sort of like play with that a little bit with the audience to not let them know exactly where people were positioned, because the Romulan commander says they will follow us back into the neutral zone if we do something.
Yeah, so
and
they're
Kirk's
like, they're,
yeah, we're gonna stay just outside the neutral zone, and
right.
So maybe they didn't go in. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe like I don't know. It's like a semantic argument, I guess, because like you're already shooting at each other.
Yeah.
So like, does it matter if one of them isn't? You know what I mean?
They send like racist ass Lieutenant Styles down to the phaser bank room.
Yeah, he gets put there because everyone's dead down there, right?
Yeah, except Tomlinson, the groom from the wedding.
Yeah, Tomlinson's still he survives.
100% alive, and he's definitely gonna get married later. Everybody,
yeah,
Don't
totally
listen to
not.
anything I said earlier.
Totally not gonna die at all. In 5 minutes.
The Romulan commander's ship at this point is like fucked, right?
Yeah, the ceiling falls down and it kills like a bunch of dudes.
It kills his best friend, the old guy. And
yeah, the old guy, his dad, his Romulan dad.
He puts his Romulan dad in the fucking like junk tubes and sends it out with the debris earlier.
Yeah.
Cold-blooded, but very clever.
Well, green-blooded. It is smart because like he died, so use their body, right?
Yeah. And it continually happens that the commander's like, let's just go home now. And the Romulans are like, the other guys on the ship are like, no, kill them.
Yeah, we started it. We gotta finish it,
he's
right?
like, oh, fine.
Yeah. And Mark Lenard is like fucking Hamleting the shit out of his lines.
So great in this episode.
Yeah, he really is good.
This is the scene where the phaser coolant leak happens in the phaser room, which is cartoonish almost.
It's terrible because like the where they put like the pipe is like in front of everybody.
Yeah, so they should.
And it's like obvious. Yeah, you should see it. Obviously, like, aren't there like alarms and shit for that crap?
Apparently
Like
not. There is a paper sign taped to it that says coolant though. So
they're still using paper in the 2250s.
But they both pass out because of the fumes, Tomlinson and Styles. Tomlinson fucking dies. But Spock comes back and presses 4 buttons and fires on the Romulan ship.
Yeah.
And completely disables it. And Kirk, being, Federation through and through, finally gets to talk to the Romulan commander. Sends a ship-to-ship message via video. And Kirk is straight up like, yeah, we'll beam aboard your survivors. And
right.
The Romulan commander's like, in a different world, you and I could have been friends.
Yep.
And then he self-destructs the ship because he's a Romulan.
Yep, because this can't have happened, right? Like this, you can't have them go back in failure because they'll probably be executed anyway. Honestly.
Yeah.
Might as well blow your ship up, do it right away, right?
And I mean, they don't know that much about the Federation either. Like, they could be being sent to like horrible internment camps or something if they turn themselves over. They don't know.
Well, it's like that North Korea shit where like, they're always telling their people how we like, we're like fucking horrible and we're like putting people in like basically, concentration camps and shit. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. So
we learn, what's his face died, Tomlinson. Who we all loved and cared about.
Now his cute wife, that's probably someone's Nana right now, is alone now.
Nana Angela. she's
I was like, girl, you're too attractive to be on this spaceship.
Like she is very beautiful.
She's very pretty, yes.
And like she's just crying in the chapel alone, and Kirk comes to like console her and everything, and in everyone's like pop culture Kirk version,
this is where he like tries to get in, right?
Yeah, he's trying to get in. He's gonna kiss her or whatever, but he's straight up like, we know there has to be some reason for this, even if it doesn't make sense now. And she says she'll be fine, and then he just lets her leave because that's the right thing to do.
Well, he walks out. What I love about this episode at the end is he like walks out and like he like is like poised and confident, and he's the captain in this moment. Like this is when he's the captain.
He has to be, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like he readies himself before he goes out. Like he stares off for a minute, and then he he, swallows and puts his chest out and walks back out.
Yeah, and then the directed by what's his name comes up, and it's like he's still walking while the credits come up, and I'm like, man, that's a fucking good episode of Star Trek right there.
It really this episode sticks with me as being like probably it is the best TOS episode to me. Like I love City on the Edge of Forever. That's a fucking amazing episode. But this is my favorite.
Yeah, this is a great episode. And through and through.
There's just a lot of stuff in this episode plays out throughout the rest of the history of Star Trek, and it's still playing out in like STO.
Oh yeah, no, like there's still all kinds of Romulan, like the Romulans are like a thing that like don't go away, right? Like the Klingons go away.
Yeah, they become your friend.
Yeah, the Klingons like almost died, almost exactly like the Romulan. Not exactly, but the Klingons like pretty much fuck themselves, and like they overmine Praxis, and Praxis explodes, and so now they don't have dilithium anymore. You know, so how are they gonna fucking like keep up the arms race, right? Because it's a Cold War allegory. So they have to make peace with the Federation, and now it's time anyway, right? It's been long enough. And then we come back into TNG, and it's like, oh, the Klingons? Yeah, you mean our best friends, the Klingons? And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, look, we got one on our ship.
Yeah, there's a Klingon here. Yeah, best friends club. We love Klingons. And, like, the Romulans don't go away that easily.
No, I mean, it's teased in DS9. That, like, the Romulans... I mean, it's teased in TNG with the unification episodes.
Yeah, the unification shit plays into STO because the kid, Datan, the child in that, he's, like, the leader of the Romulan Republic.
Oh, wow.
Like, so, like, he's, like, the head of state who, like, is pushing for, like, you know, good relations and peace with the Federation on New Romulus, like, because they have to, like, recolonize a planet, you know?
I think the difference between the Klingons and the Romulans that separates the idea that, like, Klingons are going to become our friend and the idea that Romulans will become our friend is that inherently Romulans are so used to duplicitousness in their society.
It's impossible to find common ground when, like, there is no ground, right?
Like, even if there is common ground, there's always, like, huge elements in the Romulan society that are trying to figure out ways to stab you in the back.
Right, it takes centuries, like, for peace to be achieved because, like, you have to get used to each other, and the Romulans refuse to, like, get used to the idea of, like, the Federation being a thing. And it's well, clearly they are Romulans, so, like you need to get over it.
Klingons are, like, easier to understand for humans because they're, like, the barbaric side of humanity. It's easy to understand that side and find a productive way to utilize that type of energy.
Right, you can play within their society easier because you can... You know, you could go down and drink fucking alcohol with them and punch each other, and then you're in. Then you're in the club, right? Like, it's not all that hard.
It's the difference between, like, the barbaric side of humanity and putting that type of energy towards good use and the, like, backstabbing side of humanity.
Right, like the spy side.
How do you put that to good use, you know?
Yeah, like, it's very much like, if you're always a spy... who are you even spying for anymore? You know what I mean? Like, who is your allegiance to if you're constantly, like, fucking everybody over all the time? It's crazy.
It's not like the Federation doesn't have spies. Like, we have our own fucking section for that.
Oh, no, we learned later that the Federation's super creepy with that shit.
Yeah, which I don't like, and I never liked, but whatever.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, and I think what saves it for me is that, like, most of the Federation is like, well, we don't agree with this. Like, we don't want to do this.
Like, they don't know it exists is the thing. And I mean, that makes up for it somewhat for me. Like, I don't think the Federation is some completely perfect organization that should never have any wrongdoing on its hands.
Right.
Because, I mean, human nature is human nature even when we
we're still people. We're not perfect.
But I feel like it shouldn't be on such a massive scale.
What's genius about it is, like, that's exactly why it exists. Because, like, in order to like make society crystal like pristine clean, you have to have a thing that nobody ever knows about. You know what I mean?
No.
Like somebody has to do the dirty work though, right? Like they do.
The idea is that the dirty work is unnecessary at that point.
Yeah, but it's not though. That's
I mean, it's only not because the writer said it's not. It's their universe, right?
It's only not also, I think, because like of people like the Romulans. Like you have to be able to beat the Romulans like at their own shit, and that's like why
you come to the idea of like, if you use your enemy's tactics, are you just as bad as they are? And
exactly.
does that matter
Exactly. No, that's and I agree with you, and I think that's part of like the brilliance of Section 31 in the episodes, mind you, not in the movies. I also like that Section 31 is like so secret that nobody knows like where it is or if it is. Like that's amazing to me.
There's always the idea that like people have put forth that Section 31 doesn't actually exist. It's just that one guy from DS9.
Sloan. It's just Sloan, yeah. And like, but that's exactly why Section 31 wants you to think that, right? Because like they don't want to be like, you can't have this shit be out there. What would happen if people in the Federation found out? They would be like fucking pissed, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always the thing is like, how far does knowledge of Section 31 go? We only see humans as part of it.
Well, you gotta watch Enterprise.
Yeah. I'm going to.
You gotta. So it's like a human thing. Like
I'm watching Section.
Earth.
Not Section 31. I'm watching.
Are you in Section 31, Jeff? You have to tell me if you are.
No,
That's podcast law.
You know that. You know me better than that. I'm Starfleet
Sounds like
security
something.
through and through.
Sounds like something a Section 31 guy would say.
You know what? That sounds like something a Section 31.
You know what? That sounds like something Section 31 guy would say. You know what,
Josh? That sounds a little bit like something a Section 31 guy would say.
That sounds like something somebody who wanted me to think they were in Section 31, but then weren't, would say, but really are, would say.
Josh, you know, you're sounding a little bit like somebody who is in Section 31 who wants me to think that he isn't, but he's actually not, but then he really is at the end of it, would say.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Anyway, Section 31 is neither here nor there. I find it really interesting that Section 31 does exist, though, because, like, organizations within our enemies mirror Section 31, like the Tal Shiar.
Yeah. Well, the Tal Shiar is, like, overt, right? Like, that's, like, the high class.
It's the difference in society, right?
Right.
Like Tal Shiar is like the highest military echelon.
If you're in the Tal Shiar, you're golden, and if you're in the Obsidian Order, you're golden, right?
The Obsidian Order is like exerts way more power over the government of Cardassia than even Gul Dukat knew.
Like that's the thing about like these crazy societies, like these crazy secret societies, is that like they really run the show, and like that's the question. Like with Section 31, is like, how much influence does Section 31 have? Right? I mean,
Sloan says, and you can't really believe anything that motherfucker says one way or another, but he says that literally no one in the Federation knows that Section 31 exists anymore.
Yeah. They
were part of the Federation.
The charter. Yeah. They're like in the charter or something. Which, like, who is the, like, what is this Section 31? Like, that's why they call it that, because it's, like, Section 31 of the Charter, right? Like,
yeah.
Why isn't anyone like, what is this?
Yeah, what does this mean?
Did you guys read this? What is this Section 31 shit?
Have you guys read our Charter? There's, like, a whole section in it that makes no fucking sense.
It just says, like, Section 31, and then it has, like, this crazy, like, poop smeared on it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's, like, a whole section of our Charter that just says redacted in it.
It just says, totally not a spy organization here. Move along.
It just has a picture of Alf. What is this?
And they're like, oh, Alf.
Well, that's when Melmac joined the Federation.
The honorable delegate from Melmac has the floor.
I say we eat all the cat people.
And the Cadians are like, ow, Naboo!
We've made a whole new continuity now.
Dude. I think it's interesting how much we brought up in this episode just because of the Romulans. Like, I think that shows how important Romulans are to the Federation and to Star Trek. Like,
the thing is, like, Klingons are the big, like, when people think of Star Trek,
but that's what everyone thinks.
Are the big enemies. But I feel like if I had to pick one enemy from the history of all Star Trek that represents the anti-Federation best,
it's the Romulans.
It would have to be the Romulans.
I sometimes I like to do like these like thought experiments is like a higher term that like I like to think about like the Federation, right? Like think about all the problems they have to deal with, and like who the fuck takes care of all these fucking problems? Like, I
don't know. Well, that's the thing is like the Federation is made up of like how many worlds, how many billions upon billions upon billions of peoples.
So like when you you're you join Starfleet and like you're like on a career path and you want to like focus on something, right? And you're like, you know what? I think I would really like to work on this Romulan thing. Like, what a daunting ass task.
Well, that's the thing is like if you're in that bright shiny future and you're like motivated enough to be in Starfleet, like you'd be that type of person that'd be like, yeah, I want to fucking tackle this Romulan problem.
Right. It might take me my whole life. I might not ever like solve it, you know, but like so like the Federation is like full of people who are just like my talents and what I want to do is suited to dealing with Klingon diplomacy, right?
Yeah.
Or Romulan military tactics, or Borg, right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, when you're like old enough to join the like academy, you decide at some point, like, I'm gonna be in Starfleet.
Right.
I want to, for some reason, I want to be in Starfleet, whatever that reason is. Like, maybe
cool ships.
Yeah, maybe you want to be like an engineer and you want to work on those cool ass ships.
Right.
Like, maybe you want to design ships for Starfleet. Yeah. And like you decide at that point, like, you know, I want to be in because I love all the ships, and eventually you arrive at the point, yeah, I want to design ships.
Right.
And I think that works for everybody. Like, you go into Starfleet, like, yeah, I want to be in command. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you're like, I want to be in command as a diplomat to work for like peace with whatever.
Right. I want to be like, get to the point where like I'm an attaché or something. You know what I mean? Where like you have like diplomatic immunity and you're like in the embassy on Kronos and like that's your life, right?
Yeah.
Like getting to know these races and like these species, like that would be amazing. Like.
And that's the thing, when I ask people, because, like, one of my favorite questions is, like, if you were in Starfleet, what would you be doing?
Yeah.
And people always go for, like, what would I, as a person right now with my skill set, be doing? Which is probably not much. I don't know anybody listening to this personally, besides those that I do. But me personally, I probably wouldn't be doing much, you know?
Yeah, but you...
But in the world of Star Trek, like... You have every opportunity you could ever desire. There's nothing standing in your way.
One thing about the world of Star Trek that I think is so appealing to me, like to bounce off what you're saying, is nobody in Star Trek expects you to know everything. No. The whole idea of Star Trek is that we don't know shit. And, like, in our real world, like, if you show up for a job, like, what's the first fucking question on the resume? How long have you what's your experience? And it's like, yeah, but, like, doesn't that defeat the point of, like, me, like, being better at my job? Like, if I already knew how to do this job, like, why wouldn't I already have this job? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, the best part about Starfleet and the Star Trek world in general, even beyond Starfleet, is that you're not expected to know everything, even beyond what you already know. Like, if you come into Starfleet and, like, you're a xenobiologist and you're a specialist in, like, Klingon and Vulcan.
Right.
And somebody's not going to come up to you and be like, all right, I need fucking biology scans of the Xindi. Because there's already somebody who knows that.
Right. And so, like, you might work with those people. Right. Yes.
Yeah. It's like all about working together.
That's the thing. It's like around the next corner, around the next star is something that you've never seen before. So, like, who the fuck is an expert on anything?
Yeah.
Like, you're just constantly discovering crazy shit.
It's all about learning. It's not about knowing already. It's about learning.
Knowing the thing already, like, you're dead. You're done. That's it.
And that's the thing is, like, when Scotty started out, when... a better example, even when Geordi started out, he was not even in engineering.
Right, and then he was like good at it though.
And when Star Trek: The Next Generation ends, he is the foremost authority on starship engineering in the Federation at that point.
Yep.
And it's all because of learning. You learn
Right.
as you go along. That might be one of the best lessons of Star Trek, is that if you come into something with an empty glass, you can keep filling that shit forever.
Yeah. You don't have to like that's where that ego shit comes from too, like in real life, where like you come into a situation and people are like, "Oh, well, who's this new guy?" And it's like, I mean, there's like that in human nature anyway, but like in Star Trek it's like, well, whatever, like I don't know. You know, like,
in Star Trek, it's like if a new person shows up, you're like, "Hey, man, what can you do?"
yeah, what's up? Like
It's
we're
not
all
like,
yeah.
It's not like, "Hey, man, can you do this specific task?" It's
Right.
"Hey, what can you do so that we can add you to the group?"
Right. And that's why like a lot of episodes and a lot of storylines like are resolved with somebody who like is using their experience to like see through the problem that other people might not have seen because they didn't have that experience. Like that's why being different is good. That's why differences are good, and why we should all be like, you know what? We all can like learn from our differences, because like I don't fucking know how to fix this problem. Maybe this Andorian does.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's the best lesson about Star Trek in general. Like, not even, like, even better maybe than the idea that, like, learning is fundamental.
Yeah.
The idea that, like, differences are something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And they're exactly what makes things work. Like, nobody in Star Trek ever meets an alien race that's not hostile and goes, "Oh my god, a weird alien." They go, "Oh shit, a cool new alien."
Yeah, what is that? Yeah. Like,
let's be friends, you know?
They talk about that in Insurrection, where like the bad guy Ruafo or whatever is like, over the past several months everyone's taken shots at the Federation, and he says like, he's like, you're a dying race, you're a dying like government. And it's like, that's not true though, because like everyone is like there to pick up the slack, right? Like it's not just on humans, it's not just on Andorians or Vulcans. The whole point of the Federation is like, we don't have to just do this by ourselves anymore. Like,
yeah, that's the
we're
power
all
of the
here.
Federation.
Exactly.
And that's like when other organizations, other like empires in space, other peoples in space talk about like, why is the Federation so powerful? Why do they like operate on such a massive scale so quickly compared to other things? And it's because we work together.
Right.
The other empires are like single race empires.
Right. There's like the Klingons have like conquered like races, and they use them as like slaves pretty much, but like to do that requires energy, and like you're wasting your energy like governing these servants, you know. And whereas like the Federation, also, like, it's like,
their lives are terrible and they're not treated like real people.
Right, they're not gonna try, they're not gonna be like, yeah.
The Federation succeeds because we meet each other with an open hand, and we're like, hey, we've got this stuff and you guys got this stuff, why don't we put it together and work on like making even better stuff.
Right, and to like the point when like, then you don't even need to do it anymore at some point. Like, you just invent shit. Like, shit just comes out of thin air. Like, yeah. Right? Like, hey, do you want a wall? Yeah, let me just replicate it with my infinite fucking energy that I have. It's crazy.
The Starfleet future is the best future for like a million different reasons. But it's like the togetherness and acceptance of the Starfleet future that attracts me to it the most.
I agree.
And the Romulans are the exact opposite number of that.
Fuck you, Romulans!
You guys can join us if you want, but you gotta stop being dickheads.
You gotta fucking figure your shit out.
If you stop stabbing us in the back, you can join our party. The Federation is like a big RPG, right? Like, where you just keep adding people to your party, and you get better because of it.
Yeah. You're investing in the future, too, right? Like, so you make first contact with a species, and, like, they're pretty, like, they're like welfare queens, right? Like, to use like the shitty Republican-y conservative term, right? Like, they're not contributing anything right away because they don't know anything, right?
Yeah, but
eventually, Right. But eventually...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
In like 100 years or so, one of them, or a couple of them they're gonna start to get it, right? And eventually they're going to, like, be a valuable full member of the Federation where they're, like, totally used to, like, the idea of aliens and all this shit. And it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. It's
not like they go into these things seeking, like, a resource.
No, right? No.
It's all about, it's not even like a bringing enlightenment thing, like colonists and stuff used to do. Like,
right.
Oh, we're bringing enlightenment to the
right.
savages.
It's not colonist. Yeah, it's not.
It's
colonist.
Like, hey guys, we're the Federation, and if you'd like to, you can join us. And here's all this cool shit that we can help you out with because, you know, we see that you guys are trying to, like, join us up in space.
Well, you reached that level, right?
Yeah.
You passed the test. You've went faster than light. So in order to protect us and you, here's an opportunity, right? Like,
some people could see that as, like, a negative thing. Like, oh, you guys are trying to take over their future or whatever. But the way space works in the Star Trek world is if the Federation doesn't come along with an open hand and an invitation, then the Romulans are going to come along with a closed fist and an ultimatum.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very like end of World War II, where it's like, well, hopefully you were in West Germany, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be in East Germany.
The politics of the future of Star Trek is always interesting to me, especially because the Federation is so, like, accepting and open-handed compared to everyone else in space. It must be really difficult to work with such, like, iron-fisted policies on other societies and, like, combat them.
Yeah, you just have to study history, really, I guess, because, like, it's all here, right? We all did this shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's written by humans, so...
Yeah, we're doing it right now, so...
The Romulans are the linchpin, though.
Yeah.
I think without Romulans, the Federation wouldn't shine as brightly.
Yeah, they're the darkness that the Federation is cast against, right? Like, yeah, it's really good. We're the like we said it before, like where the Klingons are more sort of just like an annoying bad guy. They're kind of like the Romulans are the Joker and the Klingons are the Penguin. Penguin shows up every once in a while and you're like, oh, Penguin, get out of here.
I would say like the Romulans are like the Joker and the Klingons are like Killer Croc or Clayface.
Killer Croc.
A Clayface or something, where it's all brute force and like they can definitely kill the fuck out of the Federation.
Yeah, in that respect,
they're not smart enough.
Yeah, you're right.
I think
Killer
that's the
Croc.
Klingons. No, probably not Killer Croc. Maybe like Clayface.
I like that episode where he makes his daughter out of himself.
God, that episode is sad as fuck, dude.
That's a great episode.
Where Robin falls in love with her.
It's fucking dark as fuck, dude.
Yeah, he killed her. He killed his own daughter to get a part of it.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh well.
That's Clayface for you.
Fucking Clayface.
Fucking idiot.
That's what Batman says when he sees it. Fucking Clayface.
I think that's what he says when he has to fight Killer Croc. He's like, what?
Fucking Killer Croc.
What is this new ass fucking Batman villain that I got?
New ass? He's from the 70s.
That's pretty new in Batman terms, though, right?
Yes, Batman's been around since the fucking 1930s. So
yeah, it's pretty new.
It's pretty new. I mean, he's not like
Livewire.
Hurt. Fucking
Hurt.
What's his name? He's not like the fucking Court of Owls or something that was made like 5 or 6 years ago.
I don't fucking know what that shit is even. That's so new.
Exactly. It wasn't.
What
even
about the Royal Flush
series.
Gang? What about the Royal Flush Gang?
I think they're from like the 70s too, actually.
What the fuck? Come on.
Yeah.
Get some new villains, Batman, you know?
Batman suffers the same problem that a lot of comic book heroes do, where like the people who are writing them now were fans as kids, so they just want to write those characters.
Those characters, yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, you end up stagnated a lot, and then you end up having to reboot your comic series all over again.
Well, that's comic books.
Yeah. DC's
Spider-Man.
been real fucking bad about that. They've rebooted like 4 times in the last few years.
It's insane, man. That's so dumb.
hopefully they stick with what they're doing now because their comics are mostly pretty good right now. So
The movies are shit though, and that's all they care about.
yeah, that's not the comic writer's fault though.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. But
Yeah, their movies
unfortunately,
are hot garbage. Like Wonder Woman was all right, but the only reason why it was so
Wonder
like
Woman's
critically acclaimed is because it's like, of course, like a normal light bulb is gonna look blindingly bright, in, like the pitch blackness that
a
surrounds
fucking
it.
10-watt light bulb is gonna
Yeah.
look like incredible in the darkness of space.
Like Wonder Woman would be a pretty like average Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's about as good as like Doctor Strange, right? And I like Doctor Strange,
Doctor
but
Strange
like,
was good.
yeah,
I
and like
mean,
Wonder Woman's good too. Like,
I'd say
but
it's like, I don't know. I'd say it's better than Thor.
the first one.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, it's better than Thor. The first
Yeah.
one's stupid.
It's all right, but
The third one's great.
the third one was good. I'd say Wonder Woman's like somewhere close to that. It's
Maybe
it's
like
a pretty
2.
good movie. I liked it.
Yeah, but all the other ones are fucking shit.
Yeah, fucking. I saw Man of Steel in the theaters, and like I love Superman. I'll like
Yeah.
admit it to anybody. I don't care. And I wanted to like that movie so hard.
This is why you don't have Zack Snyder make your movies.
Yeah. That's just a universal truth, man. You just don't have Zack Snyder make your movies.
It's gonna look like that. And like, why do you want it to look like that? It's
don't know.
Superman.
It's you want your Superman to be dark and dreary and just sad.
Remember when it's raining all the time in that movie and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
You just want him to be so sad. And then
That's
Batman
Superman.
shows up and he fucking hates Superman, and you're like, why do you hate Superman? Why do you hate Superman so much, Batman? And he's like, he's I don't like him.
He's an alien.
I don't like him because he's a symbol of hope. I guess I didn't see the other movies. So.
I'm an old grizzled Zack Snyder. I mean, what's his name?
Ben
Batman.
Affleck.
What's his name? What's the
Oh,
fucking
Bruce Wayne?
No, the guy who wrote the books. Killing Joke. Oh my god.
Alan Moore?
Is that
No,
Alan
fucking Alan Moore. Oh, you're talking about like Frank Miller, who
Frank
wrote,
Miller. Frank Miller.
The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, where he's
Yeah.
like beating people with baseball bats and shit.
He's got like a rifle that fires a harpoon through people, but that's not a gun, so it's okay. For
Yeah, it's like, Batman, come on.
You're skirting the line, Batman.
You're getting a little weird, Batman.
The Dark Knight Returns is alright, but have you ever read the sequel to that? The Dark Knight
No.
Strikes Back?
Nah.
That comic is fucking hilarious. It is so horrible.
Oh man, I gotta read it now.
But that's neither.
Anyway.
We've gone off on a pretty long tangent here. I think somewhere in the middle of all of our tangents, we talked about this fucking amazing episode, Balance of
Yeah.
Terror.
I'm not used to watching a good episode. We were hitting some
Yeah.
pretty shitty turds there for a while, so.
We spent 2 months watching like god awful fucking Star Trek, so
Yeah.
watching such a good episode right out the gate was a blessing.
Yep. It's weird. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, maybe that's why we went off on so many tangents. We were just like, my brain can't process a good episode.
Let's talk. Yeah, I kept wanting to be like, wait, when does the bad part start? And I'm like, well, it doesn't.
Nah, never happens.
It just doesn't happen in this
Fucking
one.
great part.
But then I watched the episode with the Alice in Wonderland planet, and I was like, oh, there it is.
I didn't watch that episode. I was smart enough to turn it off.
There's an animated series episode where they go back to that planet,
Oh yeah?
and they're like, hi, Alice. And it's
Why?
like, what?
Why would you
I
go
don't know.
back?
Man, I don't know. Then the one with Satan came on, and I was like, what the fuck?
Like, you can go back to the Alice in Wonderland planet, but you can't go back to the planet you dumped Khan on to see if he's dead or not. Like,
They didn't care. They
whatever.
didn't fucking care. They're like, whatever. I hope he is dead.
Yeah, hope he died and everyone on the planet. Hopefully the world didn't go into some fucking, like, ice age and then become a desert afterwards. Anyway.
Hopefully SETI Alpha 6 didn't blow up and it's actually SETI Alpha 5 or whatever.
They didn't even look at the planet they dumped them off on. They were just like, alright, bye.
There's rocks and water there. They're fine.
It'll be fine. Who cares? Fuck them. Who cares?
Fuck them.
They can't get off the planet anymore. That's what matters.
Fuck them.
You know what? I feel like we've reached a good ending point for this episode.
Yeah, we talked about when Batman was in Star Trek.
And how come Adam West was never on an episode of Star Trek?
That's a great question.
That would have been a great cameo.
He would have been great, yeah. In any era, he would have been great.
That's true. I would have loved a TNG episode with him on it. That would have been great.
What if he's like a TNG episode? I'm going to do a pitch it or ditch it, and he's like an ancestor of mud.
Oh, yeah.
He's
fucking descended from mud.
But, like, he's just this super eccentric, like, playboy. Like, he's just a weird-ass guy.
That would be great. Like, they established there are space pirates during the TNG time.
Yeah.
With the guy who wears the Seinfeld pirate shirt.
Yeah, you mean Star Trek's Han Solo.
Yeah, of course. Same character. That would be fucking great if he was like just like an illegal dealer of like goods and shit.
Yeah, he's like an exotic dealer of goods.
That would be amazing.
And he's just super weird. He's just a weirdo.
And even better than that is if like later on in DS9 he comes back and like Quark knows him.
Yeah, he's like friends with Quark.
He like he like swindles Quark out of something during the episode.
And Quark gets real mad at him.
That would be so fucking good.
And he's just Adam West. Basically, he's just Adam West. He's nothing else.
Of con men and things. I need more con men.
It's fun in Star Trek because con manning is like almost like not illegal in a lot of ways. Because they're just like, whatever, get out of here.
Get out of here, you little scamp selling.
It doesn't matter if you steal stuff, we'll just fucking make more of it, so who cares?
You get out of here selling women to minors, you little scamp.
Fucking pimping ain't easy, man.
Fucking hairy mud. You know he's like Hannibal Lecter in Discovery.
Oh, I watched it. I know. He's an evil asshole. He's crazy. It's crazy.
It's great.
It's crazy.
It's definitely the same character, too, everybody. Yeah. Definitely the same guy. Later on, he wears a pirate hat and boots and a fluffy shirt. Same guy.
Same guy. It's a prequel.
Thank you to everyone who listened to this episode. If you didn't listen, then fuck you, because you can't hear this.
Yeah, fuck you if you didn't listen. You don't know what I'm saying to you.
Asshole.
Shit.
Go tell all your friends and family to go fuck themselves if they didn't listen to this.
Especially your grandma.
Yeah, tell Nana to go fuck herself.
Tell your Nana, who used to be a hot girl in the fucking Star Trek episode, to go fuck herself.
Also, tell her to call me.
You're single now, Nana.
Aww. Anyway.
He's dead.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna read some of your emails on our emails episode coming up next week after this one.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna be too late to be on the next episode, but if you'd like to be on the episode after that, you can send some fun emails to mclassemail@gmail.com. Singular email.
No S.
None.
0 S.
You can follow us on Twitter, where I retweet cool stuff and sometimes tweet cool stuff. A lot of late night ideas popping into my head get tweeted out.
Yeah, I was gonna start tweeting the screenshots from the animated show and just caption them with something.
Dude, fucking do it.
It's because there is so much fucking crazy shit in that show.
Just hop on that M-Class podcast Twitter, everybody.
Get on it.
Especially Josh. Get on there and post shit.
I'm trying to. Sometimes I'm watching it and I'm like, oh my god, let me screen cap this. And I like, fucking, I'm just like, let me look at this. This is ridiculous.
The show's wild. I've seen some episodes of it.
It's drug fueled. It's just like, whatever. They were just like, it doesn't matter. Just it's a cartoon, whatever.
We'll just do whatever we want this time. Fuck.
Satan's in this one. I don't know. Kirk uses magic. I don't know.
I'm a big Satan guy. I want Satan in this episode.
How many Satans have been in Star Trek? 2?
A lot of Satans. A lot of Satans.
It's like too many Satans.
Probably for Star Trek, I'd say it's too many Satans.
Well, there's the Klingon Satan. What's his name? Feklir?
Oh my god. When Worf turns into a giant scorpion, is he turned into a Satan?
He's like an evolution Satan.
Yeah. We're all like evolution Satans, really.
That's true. Man was the Satan the whole time.
The most dangerous Satan of all. Man.
Is man.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week for more M-Class.
Bye.
Bye.
drink Sluggo Cola, the slimiest cola in the galaxy.